Good morning. Very happy to be here again. Thank you, Jos, for the invitation. Yes, indeed, I'm from the Belgian Cycle Logistics Federation, and today I want to explain to you something important for transforming urban deliveries. So when we speak about cycle logistics, we put forward always the fact that transitioning from motor vehicles, so from vans to cargo bikes, is much better for the cities. It makes peaceful cities, and it's more sustainable. It's good for the climate. These are the main arguments that we put forward typically. But today I'm not going to speak about that. I'm going to speak about the fact that if we want this sector to develop and to have a bigger impact, it has to create value, and it has to be efficient compared to the way that we use today, that we use vans today to deliver things in the cities. So we have to prove that it's a better way than using vans. And that's what we are going to speak about today. Before I step into the core of my presentation, I just want to introduce in one slide the Belgian Cycle Logistics Federation. So we are a national association with today the majority of the players in Belgium who makes deliveries in cities using cargo bikes. We're from very big players like the Belgian Post or PostNL to very small one like one-man company, but is doing in this little town deliveries as well. They all use different sort of cargo bikes, which is very interesting. I think we've here the proof that there is a big variety in terms of equipment, and that's very interesting to develop the sector. So we have this good representation of the cycle logistics in Belgium. And then our vision is, of course, that cycle logistics is at the heart of urban logistics, paving the way to move resilient and sustainable cities. So I don't think we want in the future to have even more cars in the city. We want less. We want more peaceful city. We want more active mobility for everyone, for the benefit of everyone. And so our mission of the BCLF is to drive growth and innovation in cycle logistics, foster cooperation, shape policies and mindset to promote sustainable urban logistics in Belgium. But we work also with our colleagues in France and Germany, and potentially in the Netherlands as well. So we want to have an impact on European level as well. So we want this to have wider impact. So our values, we are ambitious, cooperative, sustainable, innovative, and fair and inclusive. So the human aspect is very core to what we do, because we don't believe in robots to deliver things at home. We believe in people delivering things at home on their cargo bikes. That's about the federation. So now let's go to what I was introducing before. So what we did is to collect data. For the first time, it's a first-in-kind study that we did in Brussels last year to show, and we want to understand, what's the efficiency of cargo bikes versus van. Because everybody say, yes, it's more efficient. Yeah, but if you measure it, well, that's what we did here. So it's a study that we did with what we call a mixed carrier in Brussels. So they operate as well with vans and with cargo bikes. And we did that thanks to a small financing from the federal government in Belgium. So it's a data-driven analysis. So we collect a lot of data in Brussels. So you can see all these were the roads that we monitored. So it was 30 days of delivery operations along more than 300 routes, more than 30,000 deliveries. And the coverage was as well in the city dense part and less dense part of Brussels. So this is the basis that we use to analyze the efficiency of cargo bikes and vans. So we did basically a comparison. How did we do that? So cargo bikes were equipped with GPS trackers. We also had access to the TMS, so the transport management system used by delivery companies to schedule the routes, to have exact delivery point along the road. Also, we use the PDA tracker where the courier will will register the timestamp and location of its delivery. And sometimes we had to reconstruct the route when we did not have access to GPS information. So this was a massive amount of data that we collected. And then we step into preparing the analysis. And there are two things that we did to prepare the analysis. The first thing is to segment the delivery process. So we always, when we speak about deliveries, we always imagine the guy riding his cargo bikes. But there are more things happening. Of course, he's riding the cargo bike, he's traveling to the area of destination. But then he has to find a parking place. Also, the van drivers has to find a parking place. He has to unload the parcel. He has to walk to the address, and he has to deliver to the customer. So you see that the traveling is one part, but there is a big part that we call the service time. And the service time is basically when the cargo bike or the van is not moving anymore. And then the other things that we did to prepare the analysis is to segment the city based on machine learning process. So we divide the city of Brussels in small polygons like this, of this shape, based on aerial imagery and OpenStreetMap. And we categorize the city according to its density, based on data like aerial imagery and OpenStreetMap. So it's based on the density of the road network, density of houses, of buildings, parks, etc., point of interest, etc. So based on that, we could have a segmentation of the density of the population. So this was a preparation. And then now I'm going to share with you some of the key results of this analysis. The first graph here show on the y-axis here the number of deliveries per hour. Every dot that you see here is a route. And the dots represent a number of delivery per hour of that route. On the left side, you see cargo bike data. On the right side, you see the van data. So we compare both. You see that the number of delivery per hour, of course, spread, from 10 to 35. And for the van, is spread from, almost 5 to 25. But if you look at the median, you can already draw a conclusion that cargo bike are 28% more, making more deliveries per hour than the van in the same area. So that's already a big difference in terms of efficiency, because when you will multiply that time over time, of course, it becomes very significant. The other thing that we look at is the density of the delivery. So on the y-axis, you have the delivery per kilometer. So you see the higher you go, the more dense is the delivery route, because you have more to deliver per kilometer. And you see that cargo bike were focused already, and that's what the operator did apparently. He put his cargo bike on area which were more dense, because probably he understood already the difficulty of vans to serve a very dense area in terms of number of deliveries per hour means, number of deliveries per kilometer means that the van or the cargo bike has to stop many times, right? Maybe every 100 meters, which is something complicated with a van, but with a cargo bike, it's a totally different issue. It's much more easier. So cargo bike are used for higher density routes. That's another takeaway. We spoke about the service time, and this is something that I learned from this study, which is very interesting. The service time is the pink area here, and you see that it's 60% of the time is the service time. So you remember the service time is finding a parking place, unloading, walking, and delivering. So this has a big impact. And this is where, so it's more or less the same for a van and for a cargo bike, but this is where the cargo bike will have a bigger impact, because obviously it's more agile to find a parking, to stop in front of the door, because he does not have to find a parking spot or to block the traffic while being stopped on the road and this kind of thing. So this will have a big impact in the result of the study, the fact that 60% of the time is the service time. The green is the driving time, so coming from the hub to the delivery area. And, no, sorry, that's the stem. So basically connecting from the hub to the delivery area, then riding in the delivery area is the green, and the pink is the service time. We spoke about the segmentation of the city. So you see, this is the result of this segmentation. So the core area, which is very dense in Brussels, is the darker color here. And then you have the other categories. And so we study what is the efficiency across those areas. So let's compare the average service time. So you recognize the small polygon. And we give them a color according to the average service time. So the more green, the better. So it means we spend less time in the service time. And when you compare for the same area, the cargo bag and the van, well, you see that you are more in the green and yellow here. And here you have already a mix. You have green area, which is very good for the vans. But when you get to the center, it becomes orange and red. Means you start to lose time in your service time. So meaning finding a parking place, unloading, walking, etc. So the cargo bag is more has a remarkable consistency across the city. So going into the dense area, lesser impact than for the cargo for the van. If we look at the worst case scenario, means the 5% where both the cargo bag and the van lose most of the time. So if we look at the service time, so you see that it gets really bad for vans, right? It can spend up to a quarter in dense area, which is very complicated for them because the accessibility is difficult. And so that's really interesting to see where the vans will be much less effective than the cargo bag. So the outcome here, remarkable consistency for cargo bag, and the vans struggle with urban density. If we want to summarize about the result of the service time. So in the dense area, there is a gain of 30% for the cargo bag, and in the less dense area, there is a gain of 10 to 15% for the cargo bag. So, and this is again only about the service time. If we now add the stem time, so which is coming from the hub, so in this case, the operator that we monitor is located here, right? And he serves this area and he serves this area. So he has to travel here, right? If we combine both and we take then the total time from the hub to the customer, you see here the efficiency. So again, a range between 25 deliveries per hour to 12 or less. And you see again that you have a map which is better for cargo bag than for van. The reality here is really you see that it's much less efficient. So it's for this operator using a van in this area doesn't make sense at all actually, because they lose, they can improve their profitability if they switch to cargo bike, and that's what they do. Huh? So, but they still combine both. That's why we had the opportunity to do this comparison. However, what is interesting for cargo bike, we still see some red area, which is the combination of the travel time and the service time. If we would have a micro hub here, close to the dense area, where goods could be consolidated, and from there dispatched by cargo bike, we will turn this map into full green, because we will not have anymore the time lost by the cargo bike to commute from the hub. So the cargo bike has certain capacity. he can do his route, and then he has to go back to the hub, take another full load of parcels, for instance, and go back to the delivery area. So having a micro hub is something important in the context of cycle logistics when you have a big area to serve, and that will improve the efficiency. So that's a recommendation from this study. And by the way, concretely in Brussels, since our study, I don't say that we are the trigger of it, but it happens that there is now a micro hub located here somewhere. I cannot here somewhere. So there is really the real solution for operator to orchestrate their deliveries from that location. This is another very interesting comparison between cargo bike and vans. We look at the hours of the day and the average service time. And the green dots are cargo bike and the blue dots are vans. And what do you see in less urban area? So in less dense suburban area, so where basically there is no traffic, it's easy to move, there is no much issue to find, to stop in front of the delivery point, in front of the house. Well, they both behave the same, according to the time of the day. So from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the evening. But if you go to the urban core area, which is a very complicated one, there you see a relative stability of the cargo bike. So it's a little bit impacted by the traffic. So as of, let's say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, etc. But for the van, it's very different. The impact is big. You see that the more you go into the day, you start to lose time. Your service time increase and increase. So this is a very interesting visualization to understand the comparison between both means. So the van has a double service time at certain points, while the cargo bike remains stable. And finally, we don't want to oppose cargo bike as such to van. We just say that it's a more efficient way to do things in the given circumstances that make it more efficient. But a mixed fleet is still a good solution because cargo bike will not be always the best way when you go in lesser, denser areas or further away from the hub where you operate from. So this graph shows that the more you go in very high density delivery area and complex one, the green line shows that the cargo bike is more efficient, but at a certain point, this green line crosses the blue line and will go under. That means that the van is more efficient. So I think it's interesting to show this, not to just say cargo bike is always better. No, it depends on the context, and we defend the fact that in urban dense cities, cargo bike is the best solution. And that is proven by this graph. But for an operator that go beyond this core area, which is complex, okay, it needs a mixed fleet of cargo bike and vans. So that's the outcome of this study. That's the conclusion. Key takeaways. So we've seen that cargo bike outperform vans in dense urban area. Cargo bike offer more consistent performance. And we've seen that in different visualization. The micro hub are essential. We've seen that with a relocated micro hub, we can improve further the efficiency of cargo bikes. We have also seen that the mixed fleet is a good solution to address the different densities of the cities. And finally, I didn't speak about that yet, but there is still a big need for cycle logistics in general, is to have dispatch and routing software, which is specific to the urban context. We've seen that the problem is not the same in core, very dense and lesser dense area, but also to take into account the road density, the load capacity. A cargo bike will not carry as much as a van, even though I've seen there are vehicles now, four-wheelers that can take a big load. And the other thing is that software should also integrate the concept of multiple hubs. So the way of a delivery company operate is always from one single point, and they work like a flower, right? They want for that point and do this. They do this. They always come back to the same point. But the model for cyclogistics should be different. Well, it can operate like that, but if you need to operate further away, you need multiple hubs and to be able to reload on those hubs as well, and to deliver in different areas. But this is not as such taken into account in what we call the dispatching software. So that's a big recommendation that we do. If you want to know more about cyclogistics from the Belgian Cycle Logistics Federation, you can go on our website with some publication. Every year we publish the yearly barometer. So we will do it in a few weeks from now, and that will be the latest figure of the sector in Belgium. And then the study that I presented today is also on our website. You will have all the details about it. Thank you very much. I'm not sure about the time, but...
Thank you, Philippe. Yeah, we've got about 15 minutes for questions, but thank you very much for that enlightening presentation. I think it puts a lot of facts to the feelings that some of us have around the competitiveness of cargo bikes in cities, and I think makes the case that it's, at least for the private sector, it's not about saving the planet, but about improving their bottom line and increasing their profits. If anyone has a question, please feel free to stick up your hand. But in the meantime, I wanted to ask, what efforts are being made in terms of telling this story, presenting this case to the private sector in Belgium in terms of convincing them to make that switch and that investment from the van to the bike, at least for part of their fleets?
Yeah. Well, indeed, for us, this study is very important because showing actual fact is the way to, that can prove that you can create value with cyclogistics. So indeed, at every occasion, it's not the first time that I'm presenting this. We had a webinar also around this. This study will last a long time, I think, as a proof to show to what we call the non-convinced one. For instance, we have in 2 weeks from now, I think, 2 weeks, something like that, we work with the big federation of transport in Belgium, so called FEBETRA, and we convince them to organize another webinar, and the idea is to address the non-convinced people, because speaking to the convinced people is nice exchange, but we want, to speak to the people who say, oh, okay, that may be something I should look at. So, so we try always to expand beyond, indeed, the inner circle. Yeah.
And I guess one of the more compelling things is this 30% improved efficiency occurs in fairly car-centric design, urban design. The streets of Brussels are fairly orientated towards the car, and if they built more traffic filtering, more modal filtering, more cycling infrastructure, maybe that efficiency may even increase
true.
even more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've got a question. Please, I will give you the microphone so that those of us tuning in on YouTube can hear. Please introduce yourself and then pose the question.
Hi, I'm Chris Dixon, and I used to work in cycle logistics freight, and I'm kind of glad I don't anymore. But we know it's more efficient on the road. We've proved that in certain circumstances. What work needs to be done with larger organisations to change how they work off the road? So in warehousing and, into consolidation into vehicles, organisation, because I think it's those operational changes that, I think it's those operational changes that make the decision more difficult to make for larger organisations.
That's right. Indeed. It's not enough to say it's more efficient on the road. There are barriers to the shift, and that's what we've observed. It's about the change. I mean, I explained, that operator using vans are used to have this big consolidation center, and they operate everything from there, and they send the van for the full day delivering in the city. And the model here is different. They need to get goods closer to the city, and they need maybe to have multiple hubs. So, yeah, I think we've not done yet enough to have, data around that. I'm aware of a big study, a study that was done by a big consulting company about the total cost of the change, and they took into account everything, because typically people will show, this is more efficient, but if you add to it, there is a cost to the change, because you need to change the way you operate, then maybe it's not anymore, more efficient, right? But I've seen a study, I cannot tell you exactly the outcome now, I don't remember, but that say as of a certain volume, you're better off having a mixed fleet of cargo bike and vans, taking everything into account.
Because it's the perceived risk of change, right? And what that does to a business's economics. So if you can say it costs this much and take all of the questions away, then that's when you can really start making progress. And it's sharing that risk around, right?
Yes. Yes. It's a very good point. I think that's something, the next thing we want to focus on is to show data around that. Thank you, Chris.
Just moving over to the next question over here.
Hello, thank you. I'm André Vrielink from the Golo bike, the four-wheeler back there. I missed the start of your presentation. What kind of cargo bikes did you use? Two-wheeler or big?
No, in this case, they were using three-wheeler.
Three-wheeler.
So it's still a big load of goods being transported.
Yeah, because I know DHL did kind of the same, not as deep as this, but kind of the same comparison several years ago with the Armadillo they used here in Utrecht. And they came up to 60% benefit in the cargo bike, but that was with a big volume, one cubic meter cargo bike.
Yeah,
so
I know there are all kind of figures going around.
Yeah, and it depends on the city. And,
it depends, exactly. Yeah. What is specific to this city is that really I want to repeat it, we compare in the same city, sometimes it's not comparing the same city, in the same city, at the same operator, so for the same sort of deliveries. Sometimes it's different sort of things, it's the same, and real actual comparison. So that's what is specific to this one. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Martin, Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań. And first of all, thank you for that presentation and for this study. It was magnificent. But my question is, how many cargo bikes and how many vans were used by that company during the time of study? Because, how many cargo bikes could replace one van, or those numbers were one-to-one?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, typically, I think we say that we need, maybe, I'm not sure about, to answer correctly, but you need probably two cargo bikes to replace one. But again, in this case, it was not two-wheeler, so it was three-wheeler, so you can load quite some volume in one go.
We've got time for a couple more questions. Yeah, gentleman at the back here.
Hello, my name is William. Thank you for your presentation. I'm not sure if you taken into the account, so when you move from a cargo van to a cargo bike, there's a time you need to organize the packages and the letters. So you need smaller packages and smaller letters, and you place it very carefully in the bike. So was this taking into account in your time that you took this? So 25% increase in delivery, was this taking into account?
No, actually, it's also related to what Chris mentioned. So we start to measure from the moment that the vehicle leaves the hub. So indeed, before that, they had to split between what goes on cargo bike and what goes on in the van. So we didn't look at this part of the process, but that's something interesting to look up for the future. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.